Thank you for joining Book Drive, presented by Dandelion Breeze Audio, planting seed while you read. Kids, parents, all listeners, I apologize that this has been so long since I last posted a short story. Prayerfully, in this new year, I will have God's open opportunity to continue to improve and implore to His will for His good purpose of this podcast to reach all His listeners of these Dandelion Breeze audio presentations, Book Drive podcast, Planting Seed While You Read, trademark and copyright 2020 by Kimberly. May His hand be in all things we each one do. Amen. Today's short story, Awaiting Life. Little Milton tells his story of life's time and season. Listen to what little Milton has to say and see if you can guess who or what little Milton is. Little Milton is now old in age, but everyone still calls him Little Milton. He received his name long ago, when he was the last of his kind to become what he is today. You see, God's time and God's season works in His time and season, not by what you or I want to happen, but what God has created to happen. So let's hear what little Milton has to say about growing up. His life started as an egg. That sounds familiar. You and I started as an egg. Not an egg like a chicken, but an embryo type egg. It's a cell. I wonder who, or maybe what is little Milton? Let's read on and find out. Are you all settled in and listening? Little Milton started as an egg. His egg differs from the eggs of birds or reptiles, as his egg has no solid outer shell. So we know he's not a bird, and he is not a reptile. Who, or maybe what, is little Milton? His egg has a yolky center surrounded by a matrix of protein. This layer protects the delicate embryo, the egg, from harm, while the yolk provides nutrients for growth. What we will call his mom, can lay up to 4,000 eggs at one time, and most species lay their eggs in large clumps of eggs known as egg masses, of which little Milton was one of those eggs. So we now know to ask, what is little Milton? For he is not a who. A who would be a person like you or me. And because he tells in his story that most species lay clumps of eggs, species is a type of organism that make up a living thing, or in this story's example, a living egg. Now, little Milton is one of only about 4% that survive to grow into their full form of adulthood. Wow, 4% of 4,000? Well, that's only around 160 eggs that survive. I really do wonder, what is little Milton? Remember, he is not a bird nor a reptile, because his egg does not have a solid outer shell. What could little Milton be, I wonder? Now, females of these types of species lay lots and lots of eggs in hopes a few of their eggs will survive to grow up. They lay eggs in the springtime in some areas, and other areas of where they live, they lay their eggs when the weather is wet in nature. For their protection, they lay eggs in and around vegetation like plants and leaves near the surface of the water. The eggs have a coating that enables them to stick to leafy type vegetation, to stay put so they can continue to grow and survive. The eggs will stay stuck in place 1 to 3 weeks as the egg or embryo matures. That means the egg is changing form, like they need to develop internal organs, gills, and a strong tail that will prepare them for the next stage of life. Wow, so now we know this egg will grow a tail. Could it be a fish, I wonder? Ooh, let's listen to little Milton continue his story. Now, little Milton tells of stage 2 of his life cycle, the larva phase. This began from the moment little Milton emerged from his egg. At this stage, little Milton became known as a tadpole. Wow! We now know he is a tadpole. But what is little Milton today? Because today, little Milton is fully grown. Can you guess? Let's listen on and see if we can find out. Or have you figured it out? Tadpoles live in water. Tadpoles cannot breathe the air like you and me. They have gills, which are little fins that allow little Milton as a tadpole to breathe in the water, and he has a paddle-shaped tail to help him swim and move around in the water. Tadpoles eat various things depending on their size and the different species of tadpoles. Little tadpoles feed on algae, which is a mossy kind of slimy stuff you will find on rocks that lay within the water and on the bottom of a pond or creek or river. That means the ground under the water. Like if you were to wade out in the creek with your bare feet in the summertime and you feel the slick, slimy rocks on the bottom of your feet. Many times that could be algae growing on the rocks. Bigger predator tadpoles will feed on anything small that can be swallowed, including smaller tadpoles. Oh, but we know that little Milton was not caught by the bigger predator tadpoles, for he is old in age. The more a tadpole can eat, the more he will be able to grow. Eating provides energy to grow. Kinda like you and me. We eat to stay healthy, and as children you eat, and each year you grow a little bigger until you finally reach your full height and weight. But wait, you must remember at this point, if you eat more food than energy that you burn off, meaning you don't move around enough, whether walking, playing sports, going to work, going to school, then the extra food energy you eat can make you start to gain weight. So it is beneficial to eat healthy foods like our fresh fruits and vegetables, more than a packaged cookie or candy. Our bodies were made to receive fresh garden-type foods, some meats and dairy and cheese and breads, and a small treat now and again of candy or cookies. This helps us to stay strong and healthy and full of energy to play, work, or help a friend when needed. Now, little Milton was swimming in the creek when a larger tadpole came swiftly swimming by him. At first, he did not know what to do. He was so scared he just froze. Then by instinct, he dove to the bottom of the creek bed, where there were algae-covered rocks and small plant life fluttering in the moving water, as he was hidden from the would-be predator tadpole that soon swam past as his sight was set on other food that lay ahead to where he was swimming. Once again, little Milton's survival is how he grew into what he is today. Hey, kids, have you decided what little Milton is? If not, this next phase of little Milton's life will reveal just what little Milton grew to be. Finally, little Milton reached his final stage of growing. You and I grow from a little human being that began in your mother's womb in her belly, or some may say stomach. Then you are born, meaning you no longer live and grow in your mother's belly, but are born into this world where you are a small baby. Then you grow more and more into a small child, then a bigger child. Here you are referred to as child or a kid. But your growth does not stop there. You keep growing into a bigger and bigger and bigger child that becomes a teenager. Then you start reaching toward your adulthood, and you become high school age. Then you may go to college, where you are considered a young adult. And then you finally reach full growth. And now it is at that age that you continue to gain, and then you have a full life you live of going, of doing, and seeing all kinds of things. You do for work, you do for entertainment. That means things that make you happy. And then you begin to age more and more, year after year, until you become old, kinda like little Milton is now. He is old. But his old is a different kind of old than you or me. For little Milton ages much quicker than you or me. We take years to grow up, and then we take more years after we have grown up to actually age year to year to year, that eventually you and I will be old. But don't worry, kids who are listening to little Milton's story today, for you have a long time to grow up still. So let's find out what little Milton has become, for this is his final stage of growing, and this stage is called metamorphosis, which means to transition from the larva stage to adulthood. Little Milton knew he was a tadpole. What he did not know was that he was still growing and changing. It had been about 5 weeks since he was just a little embryo egg. Then he formed into a tadpole, and little Milton thought this is what he was. He darted around playfully in the creek's water, rushing up and down through the wet rocks and leafy grasses and plant vegetation that was in and along the creek bed. Oh, how happy little Milton was! As long as the larger tadpoles and other big and small fishes stayed away, little Milton could play all day and even into the night if he so chose. Today, though, something was happening, something different, and he was amazed when he seen little hind back legs beginning to grow. Though at this point, he did not know they were going to be hind legs, because they were only little stubs of sorts. It took several more days for his hind legs to fully develop. He also noticed his body was changing. He was no longer the cute little darting tadpole. His skin was thickening. He was becoming fuller and more broad upon his back and belly area. What could be happening to little Milton? At least now his predators were no longer chasing him like when he was only a tadpole. More weeks went by, about 12 in all, and now he had little stubs growing on his front, and they too were becoming his front legs, though he did not know that yet. He seen others in the creek and along the banks of the creek of a species that looked similar to what he thought he was becoming, though no one yet told him what he was. He was confused and wondered, when will this journey of change be over? Little Milton noticed he no longer swam the same as when he was a tadpole. His tail was disappearing, and he could breathe without needing to stay within the water all the time. Oh, how he wondered what it was like to sit on the riverbank and pond banks like the other species he thought he was beginning to look like. And now he was ready to find out, for he had fully changed and grown into... What? You still wonder? What is little Milton? Well, he is a frog. Little Milton hops and jumps about upon the land where you and I walk. He is searching for his food, and on occasion you will see little Milton, though he is fully grown and now is old. But you will hear him on pond banks, river banks, ribbit, ribbit, croak. And a splash will soon come as he from time to time needs a drink of water, which he absorbs through his skin. That's why you see frogs still swimming in the water, though they spend much time on land and in trees and just jumping from here to there. How old do you think little Milton is? Well, if old is old, and frogs in nature in the outdoors can live from 2 to 10 years, how old is old? Thanks for joining little Milton as he shared his growing up. And don't become discouraged that you have a lot of growing up to do, because one day you will be old too, just like little Milton, though your age can be well into 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, 70 years, 80 years, and more, even 100, or 101, 102, 103, or 104. You and I do not know how old our age will be at old. just like little Milton does not know his. But God, who creates every living thing and every living being, knows how old your age will be. I'll close with a prayer for each little child who has each his and her own toes, and for each little hand with fingers to wave and smile at their grams, meaning grandma. May the God who knows each one of you keep you safe as you grow. Amen. This has been a Dandelion Breeze audio book drive podcast. A Fallen Whispers, trademark copyright 2003, short story copyright December 31st, 2022 by Kimberly. See you next time on Book Drive, a Dandelion Breeze audio presentation, planting seed while you read.